Good day, and welcome back to Lighty Productions. Here we are at my the other workspaces in the garage. This is my desk, and why in such a clean area, you might be asking? Um, well, I did a repaint on the Mamod roadster. This is appliance white, and it's a very nice shade of white. It is what you would find, I assume, on a washing machine. Um, From what I've heard, this is the closest shade of white that you can get for the roadsters, at least from where I am. But now it is time to assemble. I did a little bit of modernization and stuff like that. I don't like pop rivets. The lamps and a lot of the other stuff is pop riveted. I tapped the lamps and now they are uh, like Allen key screws. These holes, I made them a little bit wider to take those screws. Everything takes the same size screw, as well as these things. As for the frames, they're repainted but to black because I don't have red. Uh, as well as everything else that's red, I didn't repaint because, well, I don't have red. Uh, these holes are wider, and yeah, it's slightly modernized. You can take it apart and not worry about it because, well, you don't have to use pop rivets. Now we get to the boiler. This, oh my word, was a pain in the ass. Uh, this is why this video is so late. um, you might notice that the steam chest is not connected. For those who don't know, the boiler and the steam chest, which is right here, is permanently connected. While taking this apart, I accidentally ripped. Actually, I didn't rip this off. The pipe that goes into the boiler got loose, and eventually the solder joint broke. Thus, I had to resolder that. Resoldered it. Well, okay. Before we get there, I realized, oh, I might have a problem. So I took, I ground off the rivets that were here at the back, and I took everything apart and soldered everything back together. Now it comes to assembling. Unfortunately, the joint goes to the steam chest, this one in the middle. Let me get a pointing device. This pipe here made the regrettable decision on also breaking on me. And I don't have a small blowtorch. I have one of those really big ones. Yeah, so after a little bit of struggling, I managed to resolder it. Then I realized there was a problem. You might have noticed that's not the original pipe. This is. It is blocked, like proper. And trying to unblock these pipes is, well, not fun. So I just gave up on that pipe and replaced it with this this piece of pipe right here. It's a little bit smaller, but it shouldn't make too much of a difference. Yeah. Then what I did was I took a cutting torch cleaning device thing and stuck that through the holes here, and I just resoldered it. Uh, you might think, oh, why did I not do that with that? Well, that's because I used the Allen key device, and I didn't realize that was also made of brass. Whoops. So this thing is clogged with Allen key and lead solder. I also learned why you don't buy cheap lead solder, because cheap lead solder does not work. You have to put a lot of heat into it. It might be because it's more pure, but I'm not doing that again. And then these bolts here, I just soldered brass bolts onto the back of this thing and just screw it on, and it's all fine and dandy. Now you might be asking, how do you connect these two? Well, you do that with the use of a rubber hose. A lot of people, especially collectors, will be mad at me and saying, oh, you shouldn't do that. That's not original. Dude, I am just making it easier to work on. So leave me alone. I like to keep things original, but there's a point where you have to go, okay, this is unpractical, and got to modernize it slightly. I don't know why I'm calling it modernization. I'm just making it easier for me to work on. I also don't have black paint, so that's just straight metal. To prevent it from rusting, I put oil on it and essentially burned the oil onto it. But every now and then when I steam it, I will put a little bit of oil on it just so it doesn't rust. What else? What else? Oh, yes, the suspension. The original suspension springs were very soft. It caused the thing to be like that. So I replaced them with springs that you find in pens. If you are a pen enthusiast, please don't follow this hobby because you do tend to destroy a lot of pens, at least for me. Um, I might need to shape them very well, size them very slightly, but we'll see what happens. Uh, what else? I believe that is everything. Okay, now then, let's start the assembling process. Okay, oh, one other thing that I forgot to mention is I don't have a chair. So normally, well, I do have a chair. I always sit on it, but I don't have a chair for this car. Uh, and they are already really hard to get, apparently, if you're in the UK. I am not in the UK. I'm on the southern part of the hemisphere in Africa. So it's going to be impossible to get it here. So I might have to either 3D print it or take up carpentry and make a chair. But anyway, let's get started, shall we? This time. Also, huge shout out to my friend Steven. Hello, Steven. A few months ago, he gave me a bunch of old Meccano stuff, and in that box was these screws. My word. And I'm specifically using these ones. Steven, if it weren't for you, I would not be making this video right now. So, huge thanks to Steven. I owe you a lot. But for now, I don't know where to start because there's a lot of stuff to do. Okay, so now I realize I don't have all my tools. Alright, so before we get to putting the frames onto the boiler, we actually need to put the steam chest on first. Now, the steam chest also had screws on it. What they're called? Pop rivets. And you see, I don't have pop rivets that are that small either. So, in the Willisco bits and bobs left over from the kit I had, you have tiny screws like these. These are used to go onto the motion of the Willisco D415. The screw is for the valve gear and the other one is for the actual connecting rod. However, they are just small enough to be of use of me. Okay, now we get to the interesting part where we actually start assembling some stuff. Now with this, I've realized you need to, please focus for me, you need to kind of wiggle the exhaust in and kind of force it in. You never want to force stuff, but in rare cases like these, the shop manager will turn a blind eye and then he'll go, oh, what happened? But then it doesn't want to go into place and you can't understand why. Also, ignore the back end. It's got some paint on it, so it's fine. I'm gonna have the screw in this orientation because there's nothing uglier than, I forgot what's called, a Phillips head. This is nuts. Look how tiny that is. Alright, that's good enough. Okay, now we have to focus our attention onto the actual boiler now. I do apologize, this is my first time doing this type of video where I have a top-down view. And if you like this new style of video, please do let me know, because I can see how I can do this in the future. Go into the hole. That's what she said. I do apologize. Okay, now we can put a nut in there. I just realized a mistake that I made. Whoopsie. Yeah. Check this modernization. Trademarked. You slip that on. And then you have a steam connection. Can you believe that? I like it when my nuts cross thread. You don't have to use Loctite then. Okay, so we've got the fireman side frame on. I just noticed how skew that pipe is. We'll fix it if it does indeed act up. Now we need to put this side on. Yes, scratch the new horrible paint that you put on. Righto, the driver's side frames are on, and now we can start considering about bodywork. Okay, I reckon next is we put this on, because I do not want to struggle with this once the other thing is on. Assuming it still fits after my modifications, because it's clearly askew. I don't know if you can see that. Anyway, you need to be very careful, because that boiler is probably under tension now that I think about it, due to its current position. However, we will manage. Please fit. Oh, yes, it fits. Okay, before touching this, I'm going to wipe off my hands. This white stains so easily. It's not going to stay white for very long. I can promise you that. The car is starting to look like a car again. Yay! I hope I have a socket for that, because I really don't want to scratch this paint already. I'm going to be naughty and look the other direction for me, please. Okay, now that that's on, I'm starting to get reassured that this might just work. I'm a little bit concerned about this pipe though, but like I said, we will cross that bridge when we get there. Okay, next part, I reckon, is this. Now, last time I remember, it's a very close fit, I believe. Here, at least. Okay. Get some screws. I'm enlarging the hole. Okay, and after a little bit, we now have a more complete roadster. It's becoming ever more clear that this pipe connection is gonna blow. But like I said, we will sort that out when we get there. Now the next thing is these. I don't really know how they're supposed to go on. I think they go on like this. Okay, let me get started on that. Looks like I was wrong about the arrangement of those things. It would appear that it goes that way. I'll put the mechanical stuff on later. Let me just sort out the cosmetics first. I reckon what I'll do first is put this side in, and then the one that goes into here. Then I'll finagle these two into place. I really should have planned beforehand. And look at that. Now that looks smart. Okay, now time to put the mechanical parts on, and then maybe even a steam up. We are slowly but surely actually getting there. Can you believe that? Okay, next bit is now the crankshaft. I flippin' hate these castings. They have such a rubbish material. Okay, and let's put a little bit of oil. Actually need to put that bearing on last. This bearing's still got plenty of oil. Goes into there. Put a little bit of lubrication there. Okay, and then we can put the flywheel on. I'll take off like an airplane. Please laugh. Now the dungus is here. Which way does it go again? I think like this. Where is my Allen key device? It's in here. With all the other little bits and pieces. Very nice. Okay, and we also need to get its plastic bearings. I don't know how I feel about the plastic bearings. This is what they look like. I mean, I guess if it works, it works. Put a little bit of oil on there. Okay. Where does this go in? It goes in here. Okay, I think that is in. Then we can do this side. Put some oil on that. Okay, that's Bobad. It is looking like a car again. Can you believe that? And a good one too. Okay, this side goes here. What I am going to do quickly is super glue these brass bearings I made. I say I made, but all I really did was I took brass bearings I had and kind of just ground them. Okay, bearings are in place, but bear in mind, we still need to put the wheels in. What's the point of a bearing if, well, interesting. We'll see how that reacts. I'm seeing now how close this pulley is to here, and I really hope it does not affect the thing running, otherwise we're going to have problems. Okay, wheels in, and now we put the spacer. Which way was there? wheel go again? I think it goes this way. You mustn't think, you must know. Like so. Gonna have to wipe this thing down after this. My hands are making this thing very dirty. There we go. That band is on. Now, the other one. There we go. Now we need to quickly take off this oil, otherwise it stins. Now the steam engine itself. This is going to be interesting. This is the thing I hate about Mamod steam engines. It's the way that they do the tronion pin and the steam engine. The way I would design it is make this a little bit longer so you can actually put it on and not worry about it shooting off. And now you're going to watch me say very bad words. That went surprisingly smoothly. Don't want to tighten it too much because this is brass. And brass has the tendency to strip if you're not careful. That's why I'm not using a ratchet. Okay, that's tight enough. Maybe not. No. Please don't strip. There we go. Okay, steam engine part is complete. Now we need to put the front wheels on. Okay, the wheels are in. The springs are literally just there for looks. So yeah, they don't work. Well, they kind of do, but they aren't very springy. It doesn't matter. It really doesn't matter. Will I change it in the future? Maybe, possibly, depending on if I have a very bored Sunday. But now we need to get the steering in. That's also interesting. Okay, welcome to the bottom of the car. So you'll see here, there's like a tab. That tab needs to be bent up, but you can only get the steering in once that thing is flat. So I need to make that thing go in there. Hold on. And there we have it. The Mamod roadster without a chair. Very nice. Now I just need to put that spare wheel on. But yeah, I reckon now we see whether or not this connection's going to fail. It's going to fail, because while I was putting the thing upside down, I kept seeing water dripping out here. Yep, steam engines, eh? Okay, so we've got water in the boiler. I replaced the pipe and put that on. And now we are going to talk about fuel. I'm not using methylated spirits on this thing anymore, because methylated spirits is scary. I could use gel, but gel is expensive. Let's get to a controversial subject. Look what I have. Yeah, it's not illegal in South Africa, apparently, so yeah, I'm gonna use this stuff with this thing, as well as that, and the Willisco tractor too. But yeah, let's get it fired up. Lovely, absolutely lovely. When this stuff burns, it smells like chlorine. Like everyone says, yeah, this stuff stinks. and the stink smell is chlorine. Well, that scared the crap out of me. I really wish I caught that on film. The pipe, I put a new one on, a more flexible one. It burst at full boiler pressure. It wasn't loud, it was just a very sudden pop and a lot of steam. As you can see there, it blew the fire dead instantly. I thought the main steam shot out the bottom of the boiler. Crap, I need to sit down for a bit. Yo! Uh-oh.